Chinese corporation Huawei recently launched an electric luxury sedan called the Maextro S800, or in Chinese, the Junjie S800. This video was played at the Huawei Junjie S800 launch event on February 20th. To show off just how impressive the Junjie S800's smart chassis is, they brought in a Mercedes-Maybach S680 for side-by-side comparison. At 50 kilometers per hour, the Junjie screen boldly displayed, "No dust, no shattered glass, no trace of water." That was some low-key flexing. Meanwhile, the Maybach was kicking up clouds of white sand, its glass was shattering, and water splashed everywhere. The difference in chassis technology was so obvious, it was like the Junjie was wiping the floor with the Maybach. Then came the snow climbing test. The Maybach struggled, the wheel slipping and spinning, unable to make it up the slope. In the end, it slid back down in a spectacular fashion. The Junjie, on the other hand, handled it like a pro, effortlessly cruising to the top. Next was the emergency maneuvering test on snowy roads. The Maybach completely lost control and skidded off the track. Meanwhile, Huawei's executive director, Yu Chengdong, provided commentary.
We used one of the industry's top platforms, very high-end car. Look at how it performs. Watch this obstacle avoidance. After dodging, it goes out of control. As you can see, after moving from rough terrain onto smooth ground and back again at 52 kilometers an hour, it lost control. And this is an outstanding high-end car in the industry, a truly excellent car, so don't laugh.
As the audience burst into laughter, Yu's ironic remark, "Don't laugh at it," took the event's energy to another level. He then confidently summed it up.
No front-end lift on acceleration. This is a benchmark-setting achievement in the industry. It's done extremely well, surpassing all other vehicles on the market. But we managed to be even better than the best by 15%. Better than the best.
Yu Chengdong certainly lives up to his nickname, Big Mouth Yu. He's got a reputation for bold statements, and this time was no different. Netizens couldn't help but joke about it. Yu really knows how to talk big. His confidence could probably rival the Great Wall of China. When praising his own product, he goes all out, and when putting down competitors, he doesn't hold back. Huawei is going all in lately, claiming they're about to leap ahead of the competition with the Junjie S800, a million-yuan luxury car with a pre-sale price between 1 to 1.5 million yuan. It's set to launch in May. According to Yu Chengdong, the Junjie S800 outperforms traditional luxury cars, taking direct aim at the Mercedes-Maybach, Audi Porsche, and BMW 7 Series. He even threw Bentley and Rolls-Royce into the mix. The name choice is also interesting. Junjie S800, which is 120 higher than the Maybach 680. It's not just trying to compete, it's aiming to surpass. No wonder people are jokingly calling it the Huawei Maybach. The launch event made it even clearer. They deliberately used the Maybach as a target, running a full-on comparison test. It was obvious they were using the Maybach's prestige as a marketing tool. And then there's Yu's claim that the Junjie is 15% better than the Maybach. Where did this number even come from? Did they just take that extra 100 in the name, stretch it into an 18% difference, and then round it down to 15? It's hard to make sense of this comment. At the end of the day, this kind of aggressive marketing can be a risky game. One misstep could lead to a major backfire. And just like that, the boomerang came flying back. Recently, a shocking revelation emerged. To stage a head-to-head tech showdown between the Junjie S800 and the Mercedes-Maybach, Huawei had quietly rented a Maybach S680 from a dealership back in early January, supposedly for filming a movie. But when the car was returned on January 21st, the owner was stunned. It looked like it had come back from a battlefield. The bumper was broken, the rims were dented, and the damage was beyond recognition. Curious, the owner checked the car's GPS data and discovered that it had been transported from Chengdu all the way to Beijing, then taken to Inner Mongolia, the exact same locations where Junjie's test videos were filmed. This wasn't just filming, it had been through some serious abuse. Furious, the owner accused Junjie of conducting extreme tests on his car without his knowledge or consent. He repeatedly demanded compensation from Huawei, but got nowhere. Finally, 4 days after the launch event, he had enough. He posted a video online to demand justice, and that's when the public found out about the whole mess.
大家好，我是尊界 S800。
Hello everyone, I'm the owner of the Maybach S680 that lost control in the Junjie S800 launch event. Sorry to take up public attention, but I was never informed that my car would be used for extreme driving tests. When my car was returned on January 21st, I immediately took it to the Mercedes dealerships in Chengdu for inspection. The damage was extensive. Just look at this. Completely broken. And here too, totally wrecked. The rims deformed. From January 21st until today, Zunjie has yet to give me a reasonable explanation. As a Maybach owner, I actually recognize the Zunjie S800's capabilities, but what Zunjie did here is completely unacceptable. I want a proper response from them.
After the news broke, netizens couldn't stop mocking Huawei, a company with billions in annual revenue, yet they had to rent a Maybach for comparison tests. Worse, they damaged it and refused to fix it, forcing the owner to go online to fight for compensation. That was just embarrassing. One comment summed it up perfectly. So, the test video was actually a New Year's blockbuster. Zunjie turned the Maybach into a special edition of Fast and the Furious. As soon as the video was posted, it went viral. Others joked that Maybach rental owners must be panicking right now, because who knows if their beloved cars might show up in the next crash test at another Huawei launch event. As the backlash grew, more behind-the-scenes details emerged. It turned out that in the snow test where the Maybach skidded helplessly, Huawei had deliberately disabled its all-wheel drive and didn't equip it with snow tires, setting it up for failure. GPS records even showed that the Maybach had successfully climbed up the snowy slope, but Huawei's promotional video only showed the footage where it got stuck. Meanwhile, the Zunjie S800 was fully kitted out with top-tier snow gear. It didn't stop there. In the so-called floating on water test, where Zunjie boasted no dust, no shattered glass, they secretly deflated the Maybach's tires before the test. The footage clearly showed the Maybach's wheels hitting the edge of a concrete pit, with its rims making direct contact with the cement, precisely where the deformations matched. At this point, what Huawei called a comparison test looked more like a staged demolition mission. Netizens dug even deeper using GPS data and discovered that the Maybach had repeatedly driven in circular patterns on ice. This led to speculation that testers had kept trying until they finally captured a loss of control, meaning the car's actual performance wasn't that bad. It just had to fail for the sake of Huawei's marketing. From this, it's clear that Huawei's advertising team ran multiple tests and carefully selected footage to create the illusion that the Zunjie S800 completely outclassed the Maybach. The most dramatic moments were then showcased at the launch event. Many people were outraged, accusing Huawei of dishonest and misleading comparisons. Before long, GAC Motors, the company manufacturing the Zunjie S800, issued a statement claiming that the test vehicle was rented through a legitimate third-party service, with its intended use clearly stated in advance. The tests, they said, followed industry standards, and there was no deception involved. So, was the rental company being blamed instead? However, someone claiming to be an employee of the rental company spoke out online, saying that Huawei only mentioned using the car for filming, and they were not informed about any performance testing. This pushed the blame back onto Huawei. Then, the Maybach owner spoke up again, this time accusing the rental company of hiding the true purpose of the rental.
Car was rented out because they told the dealership it was for a movie shot. The dealership made it clear that the car couldn't be used for testing. Only normal driving was allowed. As of now, no one has contacted me to discuss this matter.
For media productions, renting high-end cars is common. When high-intensity driving or testing is involved, both parties usually negotiate terms to avoid disputes later. Since extreme tests cause more wear and tear, companies typically pay higher rental fees to compensate for potential damage. In this case, since the rental company didn't own a Maybach itself, it first rented the car from a private owner before leasing it out to Huawei's production team. But clearly, no Maybach owner would accept having their car pushed to its limits for a few extra bucks. Adding to the controversy, people online uncovered details about the rental process and found that the Maybach had been passed through 4 different subcontractors before reaching Huawei. Somewhere along the way, miscommunication, or intentional deception, led to the situation spiraling out of control. Essentially, the advertising company paid a low rental fee for filming, while Huawei was charged a premium, extreme testing fee, a classic case of middlemen taking advantage. At this point, the whole situation has become a tangled mess, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. As of now, it's still unclear who will cover the repair costs and who should be held accountable. Huawei's cheap shot marketing didn't just backfire, it triggered a full-blown chain reaction. Mercedes, the very brand they used as a punching bag, wasn't about to take it lying down. Within a week, Mercedes fired back with multiple posts on Weibo, engaging in a long-distance battle of words with Huawei. As a century-old luxury car maker, Mercedes delivered a masterclass in corporate clapbacks, leaving onlookers thoroughly entertained. First, they posted a simple but cutting Weibo message. True prestige doesn't need to be borrowed. In Mandarin, jie as in 准借 and jie meaning borrow are pronounced the same. In just 6 words, Mercedes took a direct jab at Huawei for using a borrowed Maybach for its tests, but it also suggested that Junjie's entire branding strategy relied on bringing others down to elevate itself. The message was subtle yet ruthless. No wonder netizens couldn't resist making jokes. So, does the jie in Junjie actually mean to borrow instead of world? Then, Mercedes took things up a notch by releasing 2 expertly crafted shade posters. The first featured a close-up of Carl Benz's 1886 patent for the world's first automobile, with bold text stating, 140 years, never surpassed. This was a direct flex on heritage, subtly pointing out that while newcomers are busy chasing numbers, Mercedes has had luxury embedded in its DNA for over a century. The second poster was even more pointed. Luxury isn't a multiple-choice question. It was a thinly veiled jab at tech-focused automakers, implying that these new kids on the block might excel in technology, but they lack well-rounded expertise in true luxury craftsmanship. With this strategy, Mercedes sidestepped a direct tech battle with Huawei and instead shifted the conversation to traditional luxury values, where it dominates. These posters never mentioned Huawei by name, yet they cut deep. And then came the commercial, Mercedes' most savage move yet. They showcased their air suspension system with the caption, "Bet you've never seen a ride this bumpy before." The ad, which was initially flooded with bot attacks, depicted a clever scene. A school bus rattles violently over a rough road, with kids bouncing in their seats, laughing and playing up the chaos. But the moment they switch to a Mercedes, they brace for impact, only to realize there's none. The brilliance doesn't stop there. In the final shot, the father in the front seat smirks, glancing at his child in the back, whose face is full of surprise. With just a few words and a subtle smirk, Mercedes effortlessly clapped back without ever mentioning Huawei outright. Rather than engaging in a direct confrontation, Mercedes used sarcasm and strategic storytelling to remind the world who truly defines luxury, and in doing so elevated its own brand in the process. Another brilliantly strategic Mercedes ad has left people in awe. A graceful poodle sits elegantly on a car seat. The camera angle is a familiar one, identical to the shot of Yu Chengdong stepping out of his Maybach. The implication is crystal clear, and anyone watching can't help but chuckle. Then, the shot shifts. A bus passes by with an image of a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel on it. The poodle in the Mercedes glances at it and drifts into deep thought, as if reminiscing about the past. Suddenly, the scene cuts to a beachside sunset, where the 2 dogs are strolling together, evoking a nostalgic, almost romantic atmosphere. But just as the poodle gets lost in its memories, Mercedes' LRT intelligent driving system kicks in, accelerating and overtaking the bus, leaving it in the dust. The dog lets out a helpless whimper, while the owner shrugs with a knowing smile. Mercedes packed a layer of symbolism into a single ad, mocking the competition while maintaining its signature elegance. It was a masterclass in marketing. Beijing Mercedes sales company CEO Duan Jianjun also stepped in personally. On February 22nd, speaking at the 25th annual Yabu Li China Entrepreneurs Forum, Duan made it clear.
Some companies compete in a low-key manner that goes against the laws of business in order to gain a larger market share and occupy more of the public's minds. Some companies often forget the basic laws of business. Irrational competition can bring many negative effects. Amidst the noise, who will protect the quality standards and the interests of users?
With brand taking a serious hit, Huawei was forced to respond. On one hand, its legal team began cracking down on what it called rumor mongers. It mobilized public support with a dramatic move. On March 2nd, its Harmony Intelligent Mobility Division released an official statement, claiming that an organized smear campaign was spreading falsehoods about the Huawei S800. To combat what it called black PR, Huawei offered a 5 million yuan reward for evidence and leads. The high-stakes bounty immediately became a hot topic online. One bluntly sarcastic comment went viral. "Stop shooting at invisible enemies. The real reason for all this backlash is you big-mouth Chengdong." Others criticized Huawei's PR strategy. "This is embarrassing. So unprofessional. You make the rules, you play the game, you act as the referee, and then you declare yourself the winner? That's an insult to the public's intelligence." Many argue that if Huawei really wanted a fair comparison, they should buy a brand new Maybach and conduct transparent side-by-side tests, making sure to disclose both vehicles' configurations, including tire specs, instead of just bragging about how Junjie crushed the competition. Some media commenters, while acknowledging that Huawei must be facing organized negative PR, still pointed out this entire mess blew up because Junjia's marketing strategy was too aggressive, the Maybach takedown campaign was too blatant, and it backfired, losing public goodwill. Even a former Huawei employee finally spoke up, unable to stay silent any longer.
Yesterday, Harmony Intelligent Mobility posted on Weibo, calling on the public to provide evidence of a smear campaign against Huawei's automotive division. They even offered a reward of up to 5 million yuan for tip-offs. Once again, Huawei has taught big corporations a lesson, showing them how to harness the power of social media and public influence. And yet, no one dares to accuse Huawei of corporate bullying. But as a former Huawei employee, I actually think this move is too aggressive. When facing public scrutiny, the right approach isn't to fight fire with fire, nor is it to ignore the controversy entirely and hope the product speaks for itself. But it also not about countering aggression with more aggression. Yes, Huawei enjoys strong backing from self-media influencers and local authorities, but this combative approach doesn't resolve conflicts. It only fuels public resentment. After watching the Junjie S800 launch event, it's clear to anyone paying attention that Huawei did not handle this well. Comparing a product to high-end competitors is a common marketing tactic for weaker brands looking to gain attention. The more insecure a brand feels, the more it needs to bring down a premium competitor to elevate itself. Think about Apple's product launches. Have they ever compared themselves to Huawei or Xiaomi? No, but Huawei's smartphone events, they constantly compare themselves to Apple. When tech reviewers use this strategy, it's understandable. They do it to generate views and engagement. But when a manufacturer relies on this kind of marketing, it comes across as cheap and unprofessional. Look at Mercedes' response after the Junjie launch. They released a subtly pointed yet powerful commercial. If they hadn't reached their limit, a major foreign luxury brand like Mercedes wouldn't normally bother responding to a Chinese upstart. This proves that Huawei seriously overplayed its hands with the Junjie launch event, and when then came Harmony Intelligent Mobility statement, which only made things worse. Huawei has achieved undisputed dominance in the smartphone industry, but when will they bring that same leadership to the automotive sector? It's not just about product quality, it's also about maturity and responsibility.
Yu Chengdong's cheap shot marketing is nothing new. He did it with smartphones, going after Apple and Samsung. Now he's using the same trick with the Junjie S800, taking an aim at Maybach. At first, it was entertaining, but now people are getting tired of it. Car buyers aren't stupid. A car's quality isn't determined by flashy claims. It's about real performance. Luxury car buyers care about brand heritage, quality, and prestige. If Huawei really wanted to overtake Mercedes, it needed more than just bold claims. They needed to deliver technology, quality, and top-tier service. Yu Chengdong's big talk may grab attention in the short term, but in the long run, the product has to do the talking. If Huawei keeps shouting about being miles ahead, but reality doesn't match the hype, it's only a matter of time before it backfires. Mercedes, with its century-long legacy, isn't just going to roll over. Huawei is still a newcomer in the auto industry. Picking a fight with the industry's grandmaster might be a risky gamble. What do you think?